Okay, so today we're talking about making custom ribbons, specifically a modification to the ribbon that will follow the workbook. So folks, if you just Google how do I modify the ribbon in Excel, you're going to find out this. You can choose File, Options, Customize Ribbon, and you can come here and you can customize it. You can add things onto your ribbons, take them off. You can add new tabs, make them do things. I think you can even make them run a macro from here. I've never done it. But when you make changes to the ribbon here, they are changes to your instance of Excel. What we're going to talk about today is say, listen, we want to put something on the ribbon of this workbook that pertains to the workbook. When this workbook goes somewhere else, we want the buttons in that ribbon to follow it, go with it, be a part of it. And that's totally different than this. If you're looking at this and saying, wow, this looks pretty complex, oh, no. This is really easy to compare to what we were about to learn. Because there's like an interface. There's no interface for what I'm about to show you. And it really is ugly. That's the bad news. The stuff we're looking at today is really hard. The good news is the stuff we're looking at today is really hard, which means that no one else can do this. Almost no one knows how to do what I'm about to teach you to do. And so when you do it, at any time you do something in Excel and your boss goes, I didn't know that was possible, that's a good day. That's a good day. He goes, wow, you can do that? Oh yeah, just modified the XML built into the workbook and produced this ribbon. I thought that was common knowledge. Okay. So here's what we're going to do first. Let me open up a workbook that, let me find a workbook that already has a ribbon built into it. Oh, this one, Ribbon Wizard has one built into it. Let me see if I can find one. Oh, here we go. Cells and Sheets Practice. So this is the kind of workbook that we normally work with. Okay, here's one you've seen before. Crime Analysis, U6, Gov, Allen, XLS. Okay, so what we're about to do is bizarre, and you would think this shouldn't work. But it turns out the native format for an Excel file, the way an Excel file actually is, it is nothing more than a zip archive of a collection of XML files. That's so strange. First of all, let's make sure, does anyone need a little clarification on what a zip archive is? Say a zip archive, okay. So a zip archive is like, I could say, listen, you've worked with them just in this class, because I have a folder here called, let's go back into downloads, there should be like a data folder here that's got all those, yeah, here it is, here's one right here, crime.zip. So we downloaded this thing, crime.zip, and it had built into it a whole bunch of files. This is a zip archive. And someone said, listen, we got all these files. It could be a whole directory structure. We've got all these files here. I don't want to have to copy around these 48 files. What I want to do is I want to just archive them. I want to put them into an archive. Make one file that's got all these files built into it, copy that file, and then someone else can extract it. It used to be that it was like a separate piece of software to be able to compress and extract files like this, but now it's built into Windows. You could come here and say, you know what, this whole downloads folder, find my downloads folder, I'm just going to right-click it, and I'm going to say send to a compressed folder. And that would take all the files in there, and it would zip them up into a single folder, a single file that I could then copy somewhere else, extract it, and they would come right back. Okay? That's what an Excel file is. An Excel file is a folder structure of XML files that have been zipped. It's a compressed archive of these kinds of files, which means that the only thing keeping it from behaving like a zip file is the fact that it's got some strange extension, XLSM. Because that says XLSM, when I double-click on that, it will behave the way an Excel file behaves. It'll open Excel and try to open this file. Excel will look at it, open it up, and know what to do with it. But if I told it, it's not an Excel file. It's a zip file. Watch this. I'm just going to right-click. Oh, here, let's start with this. You may not be showing the extensions. To do this, you have to have extensions showing on your folder. Here's how you show extensions. So if you want to show extensions, you come up here in the Explorer window here, you choose View, Options. And then there's a tab here that says View. And down here in Advanced Settings, we've got a thing called Hide Extensions for known types. By default, that's checked. It turns out this should be checked for my mother. Because she'd look at that file name and she would go, why does it say .xlsx on the end? I don't want to say .xlsx, and she'll delete it. she'll rename it and delete it. And then she'll wonder, this file used to work when I double-click it, and now it's broken. What's wrong with it? Well, you changed it, didn't know what to do without the extension. And so for my mom, that should say, Mom, if you're listening to this recording, I love you. For my mom, that should say, hide extensions for known file types. But for you, it shouldn't. You're not scared of an extension. You know what an extension is. It's not, you're not freaked out by it. So you should show it. And that was, again, in File Explorer, View tab, Options, View tab again, and then come down here to Hide Extension and check it. Okay, so now that I can see that .xlsm on the end, I'm going to rename it, and I am literally going to change it from XLSM to ZIP. That's really what the file structure is. It's a compressed archive. Now, the operating system, what the operating system is going to do next is for my mother. It's going to say, now slow down, cowboy. You changed that file extension. It might not work anymore. Well, that's okay. You know what? We know what we're doing. We'll say okay. By the way, this part that I'm doing here, you don't need to do along with me to follow the rest of what we're doing. So sit back and watch, enjoy the show. Wish we had popcorn here. So now I'm just going to extract it. I'll right-click and say Extract All. Not extract it, that's fine. Oh, we can't get to my extract. So it made this folder. It actually made a folder called Crime Analysis U6 GovAllen, and here it is. These are the files that are in that zip archive. There's one called Excel. And in that, there's a folder called Worksheets. There's one called Sheet 1. I could open this up, and it would show me that is the format of all the data here that's on Sheet 1. I don't know that I actually have any data on Sheet 1 of this workbook, so it's just configurational stuff. But if there were cells that had data, there'd be tags that say this is the data that are in all these different cells. If for some reason my Excel quit working and I thought, oh heavens, I just have to change this one number in a workbook, I could do it this way. It seems crazy, but I could extract the file. I could rename it, extract it, go find the sheet, change the XML, re-zip it up, change the file name back, and I will have changed the data. I've never had Excel just quit working, but if it did, I'm comfortable I can still go ahead and do that. Now, that's like where the Excel stuff is. Now, if this workbook has, if it has a custom ribbon, there will be this folder. This folder does not exist unless there's a custom ribbon. This one right here, custom UI, stands for custom user interface. Inside that, there should be a folder. Inside that folder should be a file, custom UI XML. This is what we have to produce to modify the ribbon. This looks terrible and frightening. And the good news is, we don't have to type it. We're going to be able to copy it. In fact, I'm going to help you with a tool that will do most of this for you. But this is what we have to do. We've got to change this to make it say the ribbon. If I wanted to change, in fact, we should be able to find it. You're familiar with the button that says instruction sheet on it. I can change this file to say destruction sheet. Or whatever that says. Dedication, instruction, anyway. The instructions. And if I zip this back up and open, you want to actually see that work? You want me to zip this back up? We don't believe you, Professor. Prove it. Okay. Says destruction sheet. Close that one. Close this one too. I didn't change anything. Come back to custom UI. Come to crime analysis. Now I can't go up one level and just recompress this. I have to recompress all these files at this level. So I come here, right click, send to compressed zip folder. I'll call it new ribbon. New ribbon. I will then change that to XLSM. If you want to change it, I'm really sure about that. Open it up. On the assignment, it says destruction sheet. So that really is where that information is stored. In the very early days of the existence of the ribbon, that is exactly what we had to do. You read the Microsoft documentation. Hey, you can modify the ribbon now. Great! And I was excited about this. Actually, I wasn't so excited about it. It used to be that we could change the menu structure through VBA. You could just have VBA code that pops a new menu on and does it. So It turns out you can modify the ribbon. All right, go to read out and modify the ribbon. I'm all, huh? You can't do it? No, you can't do it with VBA. And you've got to like do all this crazy. Yeah, that's Microsoft saying that's how you do it. Isn't it great? No, it's crazy. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the shortcuts. So somebody, not too long after this, maybe within a year of Excel 2007 being released, said that whole process, we should automate that process. And they wrote a program that does it. And I provided a link to that, a link for you to that right on Learning Suite. You'll want to download, if I can find Learning Suite, you'll want to download this file. Actually, it's a link to the site. It's the Office Custom UI Editor. You want to follow that link. That'll take you to the site where this program is. And then there's a program right here. The Office Custom UI Editor Setup.zip. So next step in class today, download this folder, or download this, and install it. Unfortunately, this is going to require the .NET framework, which you may already have installed. If you don't have it installed, it's going to prompt you to install. So let's take a minute, Cameron, let's see if we can help get folks installed and running on this, and then we'll move forward. So when you get that installed, it should look like this.
What if I just download a Visual Studio? Is that bad?
Yeah, Visual Studio is not what you're after. So this is what you're after here. Custom UI Editor for Microsoft Office. I'll show you how to use it here in just a minute. All right, so you may have had to install the Microsoft Windows .NET's, what's it called? .NET 3.5 framework. .NET Framework 3.5, Service Pack 1. But if you did, probably were able to get this thing up. Okay, so here's the thing. You remember that process that we went through where we renamed the file, we extracted it, we changed the file, we zipped it back up? That's what this is going to do for us. All we have to do now is say, I want to open a file. So let's actually get a file to open. So I'm going to come to Excel, make a blank workbook. It's called Book 2. I'm going to save it. So you want to do this along with me. We've got to have a workbook that we've just created and we have saved. So I got a new workbook here. I'm going to save it in my downloads. It's blank, right? It's got nothing. I'm going to browse. Where's downloads? Downloads. Book 2. I'm going to call it Custom Ribbon Winter of 17. Now, it turns out that there are a couple of things that we can do with this ribbon. When we make this custom ribbon, we can limit it only to things that the ribbon already can do. We can like rearrange things. We can put a new tab on the ribbon that has just the tools we know you're going to need for whatever process we're working on. And if that's all we're doing, we could leave it as an XLSX. But if we're going to run our own sub-procedures, it's got to be an XLSM because we've got to have sub-procedures. So let's go ahead and save it as an XLSM now. So XLSM and save. And I'm going to close it from Excel. All right, I've created a workbook. It's a blank, brand new, vanilla. It's nothing fancy. It's just a workbook. I saved it as an XLSM and closed it. I am now going to, it'll seem strange, but I'm going to open that same file in this custom UI editor. So I'm going to click Open here, File Open. I'm going to go find that file. Here it is, Custom Ribbon W17. I'm not sure why OneDrive is opening up. I'll have to close that. And select that. I'll say Open. You won't even know it's open, but now the name shows here. That's it. It doesn't open the work. You can't see the data. You're not going to change the data here. The only thing this is going to do is let you change the ribbon. So far, so good?
How did you get to this point?
So here, all I did, so I created a workbook, saved it. You followed that. Then I'm just going to say, File Open. Find that workbook I just created, and open. And then I've got that showing here. Now, if there was already a ribbon built into it, I'd see some information below it telling me there's a ribbon, but there's not. There's nothing else but the Excel file. So now I got to tell it to insert that custom UI folder and the custom UI XML file. And that's right here. Insert, and I'm going to do an Office 2010 custom UI part. Let me explain this for just a second. This is the part that's going to create that folder and that whole process. So I'm going to insert that, but I have two choices, 2010 and 2007. I'm choosing 2010, and we can see that here now. I've got the custom UI 14 here. Just a minute.
This pop up.
This here, insert.
This like custom ribbon.
How do we get this open?
Yeah.
So hold on a second. I'll tell you. You ready? So if you've installed it, when you click the menu, it should show up as a recently opened file, a recently installed file. It should be custom. Microsoft should be custom UI editor.
Yeah, just search for custom.
If you search for custom, it'll probably pop right up. All right. Now it turns out the first time we had the ribbon was in 2007, and it was a totally new architecture. It's a totally different way of doing things than they'd ever done it before. It was, version 1. By the 2010 release, they said, it would have been better if. And so there's actually two different kinds of custom UI structures you can put in here. One for 2007. It will work for 2007 and forward. All newer versions will work with it. Or you can do 2010. 2010, if there's an Excel workbook, someone has Excel 2007 and they try to open this workbook, it'll open, but it won't know anything about the ribbon modification. Because the examples we're going to work with are meant for 2010 and newer, we're going to insert a 2010 part. And so that's the one I'm inserting. It turns out you could insert them both. And you could do one ribbon. If it's in 2007, it would behave this way. The other ribbon for 2010 would behave this way. But those are the only two versions that you can make different ribbons for. And it's because there's a fundamental change in the structure of the way they did it. Go ahead.
But most of us have like Office later than 2010.
Yeah. Either one of these will work for you, but you're going to do 2010 because the examples that we're going to use are anticipating 2010. Question in the back?
So the way we create is different from 2007, 2010, is too different?
For virtually everything we're going to do today, it's exactly the same. It's just making sure that you have the right starting point. Remember how much the XML was there? It's different in 2007 than 2010. So if we put a 2007 part and we try to put 2010 XML into it, it's not going to work. So that's why we're going to stick with 2010 and we'll be on that level. Okay, so we've inserted the Office 2010 custom user interface part. UI stands for user interface. And that then gives us this little object here. Don't change the name of it. I don't know what happened if you change the name. Don't change the name. Now, from here, we're ready to come over here and start typing XML. We could come in here and just start typing away. Or we could find something and copy and paste. In fact, they've got an example for us built right in here. Again, I'm going to select this here. Click over here is fine, I guess. And I will choose Insert, Sample XML, Excel, a custom tab. That's what we want. It's built right into the interface. They say, listen, if you don't want to type this stuff, we'll help you get started. And so it gives us this. The screen's not quite wide enough to show it all nicely formatted. These lines are wrapping, but we're okay. Let me talk you through it. You don't have to memorize this. You don't have to be able to type this. Let's just take a look at it from a high level. So like all XML, this is a hierarchical kind of nested structure. We have a tag here that starts custom user interface. Everything that's a part of this tag will be between the opening tag and the slash custom user interface. So custom UI to slash custom UI, that's everything that's a part of this modification. In that, we say, okay, we're going to change the ribbon. That makes me think that at some point, I don't know what else you could change, there might be other things about this interface that we could change besides the ribbon. But at least for this, it's just saying, here's ribbon to slash ribbon. This is everything about how we're changing the ribbon. Inside the ribbon, we say, listen, we've got tabs. Tabs to slash tabs. This is the collection of all tabs. And inside that, we have a tab. Here's an ID. So here it is. Tab to slash tab. So everything from here to here is defining the custom tab that we're bringing in. It's a new tab. We give it an ID. Every tag that we create, we're creating something new, not just a container, but something we're creating. We have to give it an ID. And the ID has to be unique. And so this is called custom tab. Great. We give it a label. The label is going to be what shows on the tab in the ribbon. I don't know what contoso means. I'm not even sure it's English. But I don't want it to say, I do not want my tab to say that. And so I'm going to put here meditation tools. You know, you're having a stressful day, come to your meditation tool. I'll just call it meditation. It's kind of a long name for a tab, meditation. Just come to the meditation tab and we'll help you breathe. Now, optionally, we can put here insert after MSO. This says, listen, you might want to put this right after an existing tab. You can tell it where to go. I don't. I'm going to get rid of this argument because I just want it to go all the way at the far right. Just go on to the end. And that really is just defining that the tab will exist and what the tab will say. Now, inside the tab, we're going to have a group. You know what I mean by a group? You notice how you've got like little groups of different things in the group. That's what this is. And so here what we're saying is we've got a group here, and it's not an ID. Here we have an ID. We are making a new tab. We're giving it an ID. Not so with the group. Here we have an ID MSO. MSO stands for Microsoft Office. This is an existing Microsoft Office identifier. And what we're saying with this group is we're saying, listen, on my new tab, I would like to include the clipboard group. There's a clipboard group. It's on the home tab. Bring that tab, put it right on this, bring that group, put it on this tab too. The font group, bring that one in. So we can bring in existing ones. Now, this one here says group ID, not ID MSO, ID. That signals we're making a new group. This is a group we're creating from scratch. We got to give it an ID. It's called custom group. That's great. We'll give it a label. This will be our breathing. This will be our breathing label. Breathing. So, and that starts here, group, end group, slash group. Now, you'll notice this existing group tab doesn't have a slash group. Anytime I have a tag in XML that doesn't have a closing tag, I just end it with slash closing tag at the end. That means don't expect to find a closing tag for this tag. There's not one. This one, you'll notice there's not a slash before the closing tag, which means somewhere we're going to find a slash group, but it's a container of other tags. And we've got buttons. In fact, 3 buttons. I'm going to get rid of 2 of these 3 buttons. Let's just work with 1 button at a time. So be very careful that we haven't deleted too much. We've got button, and then starts with the opening tag, ends with slash, closing tag. At this time, now that I've deleted some stuff, I think I would like to avail myself of this button here, which is validate XML. I'm just going to click that, and it's going to tell me the XML is still well formed. If I had accidentally deleted too much or not enough, and I validated it, it would say there's something busted about it. And it will give me some help as to where the problem is. It will help me go find it and then check it again, and I've got the problem fixed. Okay, so now let's look at the button tag, which is the most complex that we've dealt with so far. Has an ID, has to be unique, custom button 1, that's great. Has a label. So, okay, so this is in the breathe group. My wife would feel bad that I don't know more about how to think about how she thinks about meditation. So, label in the breathe group, I will call this the body scan, which is a thing she does. It's crazy. I did an 8-week course with her. Not with her teaching, but when she was taking a course. The body scan is like, you lay down on a flat surface, you try to clear your mind, and the guy guides you through a recording or a person. Think about your toe. Notice the sensation in your toe. The guy goes. Now think about, the bottom, the sole of your foot. Think about the sole of your foot for 10 or 15 seconds. Now think about your heel. Really just kind of go part by part. Well, not all parts, but most parts. And I had a hard time, I'll tell you what. It was a long time before I knew they actually did the left foot. They start on the right foot, they go to the left foot. I was asleep, by the time we got to the knee, almost always. I was out. Anyway, that's the body scan. That's what we're talking about. All right. Now, this is a button. So that's the label for the button. I've given it an ID. Now I'm going to come to set the size. There's two sizes for these buttons. Large and...
Extra large.
Not extra large. Yes, again.
Small.
Not small.
Medium.
Not medium. Normal. Large and normal. Those are your two options here. Who comes up with this stuff? I don't know, but large and normal. Large is there. Now, on action says, all right, what do you want to do when the user clicks on it? And what we want to do here is we want to call a DBA sub-procedure. I'm going to call this, I'll call it body scan. Body scan. Now, and this is going to be the name of a procedure. We'll have to write this procedure. The procedure hasn't been written yet. We'll have to write the procedure. All right, and now we have two options when it comes to the image. Let's start with this one as the image MSO. What does MSO stand for? Microsoft Office. It's a built-in identifier. So there's some identifier called bold. That term, bold, refers to a particular button. It doesn't have anything to do with what the button does. It's just what does the button look like. This is the image that goes on the button. There are lots of buttons to choose from. And it used to be the hardest part of doing this was figuring out which button you wanted. But you're in luck because I built a web page that will make this easy for you. Go back to Learning Suite. And there's the MS Office built-in image names. It'll take a minute to load. I already loaded mine. I knew it was coming. Here they are. These are the ones that are built into Microsoft Office, and you can pick any one of these. There's really not one that looks like breathing. Oh, maybe this guy. It's a guy with bad breath. That's what that is. That's bad breath. So I'll click on that, and that's going to come up with, you pick any one, doesn't matter which one you pick. Or you can type in what I'm about to get here. But it'll give you the identifier that you can copy. And then I'm just going to paste that into the identifier here. So that's how we tell it. That's the image I want to use. These images I swiped off of Excel 2010, so they don't quite look exactly the same in 2016. My guess is it'll look pretty darn close. Okay, let's keep this simple. Eventually I'm going to want to add another button. But let's stop here. So two things I want to do. Now that I've modified this all the way I want it, I'm going to check the XML again. Still well formed. It's not well formed. Now's your chance to let Cameron know, or me. We'll see if he needs help. We're okay. Good. Okay. Now we've got to write a sub procedure called body scan. But there's a trick. It's a dirty trick they've played on us. Because it's not just a normal sub-procedure. This is the sub-procedure that Excel is going to invoke when the user clicks the button. But Excel is also going to send a reference to that sub-procedure of the button that was clicked. We'll be able to know, inside that sub-procedure, we can know which button was clicked. It'll tell us, it'll send a reference to the object. So we can look at the ID, we can see. What's the ID on this button that was clicked? Because of that, we have to set that procedure up to accept that reference. We've got to build the right parameter, the proper type, to be able to receive it. Good news. That's what this next button will do for us. This next button will say, oh, you're calling several sub-procedures here. Let me build the stubs for you. This tool is not capable to actually go and put a module into your Excel book that has this. But at least it can say, you're going to need this, so you can copy it. So I'll copy that. Even if you don't copy this, it's pretty easy to type. Once you see it, I'll show it to you. I'll come back to Custom UI now that I've copied that, and I will save. Folks, you can get yourself in trouble because this tool will allow you to open it while it is open in Excel. And it's pretty easy to accidentally write over the top of work that you've done in one versus the other. So we're only going to open this file in one at a time. So I've saved it. I'm going to choose File Close. I'm going to come back to Excel. I'm going to open that workbook. And hopefully I've got a meditation tab that has, I'm not sure that clipboard and font actually belong on my meditation tab, but my breathing group is here, and it's got my image for the body scan. I'll click on that, and it will say, can't run body scan. I haven't built that procedure yet. It's trying to run it. No problem. Come to my Visual Basic Editor, insert a module, and then paste that callback in. And I will just say message box, take some number of deep breaths. B-R-E-T-H-A-H-S. Breaths, did I say? And then we'll come in here with worksheet function dot rand between 2 and 10. Why 2 instead of 1?
What does that say? Control as 1?
Control as I, ribbon control. That's capital I. So, it's just a message box, right? This isn't rocket science. I'm not quite sure how many breaths I should take. I'll click on my button, which will sense the tension that I have in my mouth, and it will figure out how many breaths I need to take to get myself back to my centered position. And just give me between 2 and 10. Once that's written, that button should now work. I'll come back to Excel. Come to my meditation tab, click on the body scan, take 3 deep breaths. I feel better already. I'm so glad it wasn't 10. That would take a long time to get through all 10 of them. 3 was a good place to start. Okay. Questions so far? Is there anyone who's thinking, I think mine should be working, but it's not working? Okay. Is there anyone going, I want mine to work, and it's not working? So, yeah, you're thinking, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to be working, otherwise it would be working. I'm going to close this workbook and save. And I'm going to open it again in the Custom UI Editor. And I'm just going to copy this button. Okay. I know that's kind of fast. I got this open pretty quickly. Got that open. I copied the button. There's one thing that I immediately have to change. What is it? The ID has to be unique. In fact, if I were to try to validate my XML right now, it would say no can do. Custom button 1 is already used as an ID. It doesn't tell me where that problem is. I'll have to figure that out on my own, but at least it tells me the name of the other. So what should we call it? Custom button 2. All right, what are we going to do instead of the body scan under breathing? I'll just put STOP, S-T-O-P, which is an acronym. It means for stop, take a breath, become aware, and proceed, or something like that. On action instead of body scan. I better not call this stop because that's starting to sound like a reserved word. So I'll call it take a breath. Okay. Now the main thing that we're doing different here is that it's pretty clear that looking at all of those office buttons probably aren't going to have the images that I need for meditation. We got pretty lucky on the breath one, but these other ones, we might have to get our own images. We might have to make our own images. I'm going to show you how to use an image from any arbitrary image. So I'm going to come to Google, and we will find an image. I think on the internet there's a way to, I think they have images on the internet, so let's take a look. icon, images. Ooh, it's a little more on the meditation realm. Let me come to tools, and I'm going to give it some more direction. On size, I'm going to tell it I want it to be exactly 48 pixels by 48 pixels. That's a native size for these images. If I put something else in there, Excel's going to do its best to cram it in. It won't look as sharp as if it's native. So we'll go to 48 by 48. Oh, hey, we got Buddha right here. That's great. Who knew? So I'm going to bring in Buddha. And it doesn't matter which one you bring in. It's just to bring in an arbitrary image, one that's not already built into Excel. Am I too fast for this? So I just searched for icon under images. I opened tools and said I want it to be exactly 48 by 48 pixels. I'm gonna select this one to see it and choose View Image. It should take me straight to the image. I'll download it, save image as. I don't like that name. I'm going to call it Buddha. In my downloads, I've got to remember where I put it. It's in my downloads. Very good. Save. If you have a picture of yourself that you want to use, feel free. Really, it doesn't take any picture. JPEG, PNG. I want to take a GIF too. I've never tried. The point is, I've got some image here. We're going to see how do we bring that image in. It's easy. And as soon as you're ready to listen, I'll show you. I mean, as soon as if you're still getting the image, get your image. Otherwise, we're ready to move on. Look up when you're ready to move on. Still getting the image. All right, here's how we do it. Back in the custom UI editor, we have to insert the image into the archive. This image, when Excel opens, it's not going to be referencing this image on the disk. That image will be built into the XML, into the zip archive, the image file, along with other files, so it's just fine. It will move with the workbook, regardless of what happens to the source image. So I will insert icons. You see it here? Insert icons. I'm going to find buddha.png, or whichever one yours was. And you think, did it work? Well, you got a little plus here now, so if you open that plus, you'll see you've got Buddha right there. There's Buddha. Now, over here on image MSO, we've got to make two changes. Remember, image MSO tells us it's a Microsoft object, a Microsoft Office object. It's built in. This one's not built in. So instead of image MSO, it's just image. And then I give it the name that shows up over there on the left, Buddha. That's it. I'll save it and close. Oh, actually, I got to remember what this thing is called. It's called Take a Breath. So I'm going to copy the Take a Breath part. I could build the stubs again and see it, but once I've got that first one, I can just copy it and reimage. So I'll save, close, go back to Excel, open. Back to my code. I'll copy this and change it to the name of the procedure, Take a Breath. This is supposed to be stop, so I don't even remember if I remember the acronym, but I'll just put the message here. Stop, period, take a breath, period, observe your surroundings, period, proceed. So, and the whole point here, I never showed you this. Never showed meditation. So there is the image that we brought in, and if we click on that one, it should execute that. So the trick is, you just have to say you want to insert the icon, whichever file you want, and then change it from image MSO to just image, give it the name that's displayed, and you're in good shape. From there, it's the same. There are other more complex things we can do with the ribbon. We can put in a drop-down list in the ribbon for someone to choose something, a text box, a checkbox. It's quite a bit more complex and beyond what I want to do with the class. So here it's just to introduce to you the fact that it's possible to modify the ribbon. You want to invoke code you've written, that's how you do it. Questions here in the back?
So do you have to put the code on the UI editor code as well?
Do I have to put the code on the UI editor?
Yeah, so on the UI editor, the box to the far right, it gives you like the. And does that have to be on the editor as well? That's what it's there, the message box.
This right here?
Yeah.
When you say on the editor, you mean the custom UI editor?
Yeah.
Well, what we did was we created the button, and we told that button its on action property was going to be take a breath. That's the only connection that we need between this. I don't have to put this code anywhere else. Code only goes here.
Because I wrote a couple times and I save it and I go back in the editor and then change things and then look it again and for some reason it's struck my code off.
So so what the question was, I'm losing my code. Go back to the editor and save it and then come back. And it sounds like you're not closing completely out of one before you open out of the other. If you're keeping that open, you go make changes in Excel, and when you would save again from the custom UI editor, it'll write right over the top of what you just had. And until you open it again, it won't know about the VBA that you got in there. But once it's there, when you write it out, it'll save it. So just really be sure you don't have that file open simultaneously in both applications.
Yeah, I really like using shortcuts using the alt button. Is there any way to like edit what comes up with your custom every time you create it?
Say that again. You want a shortcut that will. You want
So
to.
if you push the alt button, you can toggle for the.
Oh, yeah. Is there a way to get to the shortcut key? Does it actually have an R right now for me? No, R is for review.
It's Y2 for the.
Oh, is there a way to change that? I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know. Never have tried. Yeah.
So mine was working, now it's not. Is that because I had them both open at the same time?
When you say we're not working, what do you mean?
Like the ribbon isn't showing, like the body scan and the take a breath aren't showing.
The whole ribbon's not there?
Yeah,
I mean, the whole tab isn't there?
correct.
So if the whole tab's not there, it probably means your XML just isn't well formed. So close out of Excel, open it back up in the custom UI editor, and do a validate XML to see, it'll tell you what's wrong with it. That sounds like it's not able to understand the ribbon at all. Question?
Go to your custom UI editor real quick.
Yep. Close this one. Save. Open.
So that first row where it has like the URL, what is that URL?
Question is, what is this URL? And the answer is, I'm not entirely sure. I think it's something that explains to Excel how to interpret everything else that's coming after it. I don't think that it makes a request over here to understand it. I think it says, this is the definition, and it's a definition it already knows about how to deal with this ribbon modification. There's two more things I wanted to show you in the 5 minutes we've got. We might not get to them both. Go ahead.
So is there a way to delete the tabs that are existing in Microsoft Office?
Is there a way to delete the tabs? I'm glad you asked that because it introduces us to one of the 3 things I wanted to show you. The 2 minutes we have. Let's take a look. So let's go to back to Learning Suite. All right, so back in the very early days of ribbon modifications, when we had to do it all by hand, it was a nightmare. There was a guy in the Netherlands by the name of Ron de Bruin who wrote the first page that really explained and said, look, this doesn't have to be so hard. I mean, Microsoft wrote documentation for this. It was terrible. This guy wrote a page in like 2007 that said, this is how you do it. I don't even know where he learned. He actually read the Microsoft documentation and understood it. It's some superhuman power. And so, but ever since then, he has really kept that website up. His name is Ron de Bruin. I've got a link to his page. And Ron de Bruin site on ribbon modification. So we'll go here, and this will tell you how to do just what you asked. What did you ask? Oh, how to get rid of existing ones. Yeah, there's a way that you can tell it to remove a tab. There's also a way that you can tell it to get rid of all the ribbons altogether, the formula bar and everything. I just want to really be in control of this. Somewhere on this site it will show it. And it used to be linked better than it is now. Visit this page for more examples. Files and tips. 2000 version. List of IDs. How to show and hide the QAT. Anyway, yeah, he'll have lots of examples you can download. Look at the examples. I don't remember how to do it. There's a way to do it in the XML where you can say, just hide this particular ribbon. Okay, a couple more things. First one is that belongs right here in this space. What if I want to take this ribbon modification and just build it in? I just want to like install this on my machine. That's possible. Here's how you do it. I'm going to open that file. Here's my custom ribbon. I'm going to choose File, Save As. Okay, right now it's an XLSM. I don't want to save it as an XLSM. I want to save it as an XLAM. Where's XLAM? Here it is. An Excel add-in. I'll choose this as an Excel add-in. I'll say Save. Now you'll notice it's still an XLSM. It saved a copy of what I have as an add-in. So now I'm going to close this and choose File. I don't have time to have you walk through this with me. I just want you to watch. You'll have it on the video if you want to go back and look. I'm going to choose File, Options, Add-ins, Manage my Excel add-ins, Browse. I'm going to find this one that I just opened, or just created. Do you want to replace it? Yeah, I guess. Say OK. I have no workbook open. My meditation tab is here, and it works. Okay? I just built an add-in. With the functionality that I had, I could sell that add-in to somebody else. They could install it, and then it's always open until they uninstall the add-in. So I just showed you how to make it say follow the workbook, and if I save that workbook as an add-in, when I install that add-in, it follows the add-in as well. Okay? All right, last thing is right back on Learning Suite. In 2012, on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, I was like at home wondering, what should I do? I'll write some VBA today. And so I wrote the Ribbon Wizard. As I was thinking one day, I thought, you know, if those guys could write a tool that would extract, put in the right files, recompress, I might be able to do that from VBA. And so I'm going to open this Ribbon Wizard. And here's how it works. There's some instructions, which is uncharacteristic for anything I've written, to actually give some documentation. But the idea is I will take a tab, a sheet in Excel, and on this sheet, on this tab, I will define a tab that I would like to have on my ribbon. And so I've got the group name. I have to have a group. I've got to have an image. I just put the image right here in the Excel workbook. I have some text, size identifier, same thing I have to do. I've got a couple of these ribbons pre-built. Then if I have another workbook open, File, New, Blank Workbook. I do have to save it first. So I'm going to save this. It will be called Book 3 XLSM. I've opened and saved a new workbook. I'm just going to come back here, and I can add more lines here, just bring the images right on here. I'm going to hope this works, because it's been a while since I've run it. I'm going to come to the Ribbon Foundry tab. I can select which of all these sheets I want to have included, but I'm going to create ribbon. The workbook I want to push it onto has to be open. So here's all the other workbooks that are open, Book 3. I'm going to insert the ribbon. And it should take that workbook, build the ribbons, close the workbook, inject it, reopen that workbook, and the meditation tab should be here. Of course, the fact that it's actually on, not the meditation tab, my other ones, there's the information, here it is. So this now is the ribbon that I built. I have to bring the code over, but it just injected this ribbon into that other workbook. So this doesn't seem to work for everybody, and I'm not sure why it doesn't work for some people. But if it does work for you, it might be a simpler way to get to a ribbon because you can just define it on a sheet here, and then tell it to inject into an open workbook, and it will do. So that's a possibility as well. Questions? All right, that's modifying the ribbon. Thanks for coming. Class dismissed.